G'day, everybody, and welcome back to an exciting episode of Spitting Bricks with Jono. Here I am with Nick from the home of Lego itself, Denmark, from Lego Season 1, I believe. How are you, mate?
Great, thanks. It's a bit chilly here in Denmark, but I'll manage.
Yes, I heard. Welcome to the show. So what's the temperature currently there in Denmark?
Oh, it's just below freezing this morning, but no clouds and
Just
high
below
sunshine,
freezing.
so hopefully everything will defrost during the day.
Wow. We just had, I think, 24 degrees Celsius day here in Gisborne. So, you know,
Yeah, but
opposite
luckily we
sides of
don't
the
have any
world.
venomous animals here, so
Oh, no, we don't either. That's Australia. That's our next door neighbours. Um,
yeah, sorry about that.
That's all right. So, I guess we'll start with at the very beginning. So, can you share how you first got into Lego? I hear you guys. It's part of your routine growing up, isn't it?
Yeah, of course. I think almost any Danish kids will have had the Lego growing up at some point. Um, I myself only got back into it as an adult with the release of Lego Dimensions, the Toys to
Okay.
Life game for the consoles.
Yes.
And I just came across it and I figured, oh, I can actually get into this. And it's like small builds and everything. And I brought it home and I started to build it. And then my daughter, who was probably around 4 or 5 at the time, asked, Daddy, can I help you build? Yeah, sure, kid. I wanted to build myself, but if the kids ask, you have to let them in, right?
Wow. Yeah. It's Dimensions. I managed to pick up a few of those. There were just for the pop culture references. There were some really cool pop culture characters came out of the Dimensions.
There definitely
Um,
was. I think most of the sets weren't meant for kids, actually.
no, I don't think a lot of the sets aren't meant for kids anymore. We just big kids maybe. Um, so what was your experience like on Lego Masters?
Oh, it was amazing. Honestly, I mean, go it. The step was actually going from Dimensions to Lego Masters for me. I mean, I hadn't
That's
really
quite a
built
big
any.
step.
Sorry.
That's quite a big step.
It is. I hadn't really built anything like free building at the time, so it was a pretty steep learning curve. But just figured, well, wait. I mean, is it? Well, just take a step back. We were actually just the reason we actually applied to this was that me and my girlfriend at the time were tagged in a post on Facebook from the production company seeking participants. And somehow the casting director ended up giving us a call and like encouraging us to apply for this show. And we figured, oh well, we could do that. And they actually ended up bringing us on the show. And we like, I mean, we didn't know what we were doing. We just okay, go with the flow.
Wow, perfect. That sounds amazing. And how was your first like? What was your first experience walking out onto the set?
Oh, it was amazing. I mean, it was pretty. It was the first season in Denmark, so it we didn't really know what they had built here, but just walking into the set and it looked like everything we had seen on TV. So even the lights in the ceiling were the same and stuff.
Mm, the
Of
lights,
course,
man, those lights.
yeah. Of course, I used to work in theater design and stage production and stuff. So the first thing I noticed was that the lights in the ceiling still had wet paint on them.
So pretty fresh. Um,
Very fresh, yes.
so how did participating in the show change or enhance your view of Lego?
Oh well, as I said, what I came from was basically dimensions as an adult. So I mean, it's. Oh, I mean, I didn't have a Lego collection at the time besides the dimensions. So I mean, everything you see behind me and the boxes of unsorted Legos off to the side, it's it's just fun. I love to get involved in different projects, so that's basically what I do now with the Lego.
Excellent. So how has so obviously like what skills do you think you would have picked up from the show? I mean, everything pretty much. So what are you into building now? What do you like to build now?
Sorry, can
What do you like to build now?
well, at this I've gotten into the habit of like doing collaboration work, both for exhibitions, and well as the store displays. The Danish A-folk community sometimes gets asked to do Christmas store displays for toy stores and stuff. So I've gotten into a lot of that. Uh,
What kind of creations have you built for the displays?
well, the first one we got invited to, but that was actually the crew of well, the participants of the Denmark season one were invited to do a huge Christmas display, like almost 3 meters wide Christmas thing. And of course, coming from Lego Masters, we had to give it a twist, so it became this um, Christmas landscape with a Santa's workshop in the side, and of course we had to give it a twist. So we built a lot of alien spaceships coming to abduct the gnomes, the elves, and the Christmas stuff, and because and stuff. So
I love it. That's brilliant. That's cool. Um, what's your approach now with your building? Do you sketch out an idea? Do you just kind of pick up the bricks and start building, or like collaborating must be tricky. How do you come up with the original concept?
well, the collaboration, of course, takes some coordination, sorts of sizes and stuff. We usually sketch out some specific measurements that people need to build and make sure that the edges align. There's lots of different ways to do that, but whatever works for you, basically. Uh, but if I build something, I like to build recognizable things. Maybe it's because I come from dimensions things. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I like to do like scenes and things from different franchises. I'm currently working on a Portal 2 display. Just
Cool. That's cool.
yeah.
That's a neat. I like the portal concept. That's cool.
I've seen plenty of stuff online. Unfortunately, they don't tend to get through the ideas phase, but
Mm. No. Yeah. The ideas thing it strikes me as strange. Some things that get through it. I can understand IP conflicts and stuff, but yeah, some that I
yeah.
really like we just kind of miss, unfortunately. Um, so can you describe a particular build on Lego Masters that you found particularly challenging and how you overcome it, or what you kind of how you work through it?
Oh, I believe that the thing that was actually the most mentally challenging, and actually also the one that was the most satisfying to build, was that we had an episode where we were supposed to build copies of Danish design icons. And we had this, we were given this wooden monkey statue figurine, um, which at the time I looked at it and nothing on it had straight lines. Well, the arms were straight, but then they were cone shaped. And I
Yeah.
was, I mean, I had no idea how to build any of that at that time. But we actually ended up making something that was pretty well off, I think. The judge found it to be a little chubby, but I mean, but unlike the other builds, it had this thing that we actually had a set goal.
Yeah.
This is what we were supposed to build, and where everything else was just free building, so you were never 100% done with it.
Mm.
No, but this, I mean, that monkey, it had nothing square or shaped. I wouldn't say I have nightmares about it, but I still remember that feeling of this is not gonna work. It was just
Um,
this tiny little thing, though.
yeah, but so what inspires you? Like what inspires you when you're built to build or whatever Um, where do you get your inspiration from? I mean, obviously dimensions, pop culture, and stuff. But do you get anything from architecture or nature? I mean, creating shapes in round, I find, is one of the most challenging things to do with Lego. Anything round or organic, I find is usually the ones that I like to push myself and attempt, but they're very difficult.
Yeah. Well, I like to build. I like to build a whole variety of things. I'm currently working on this thing where some parts are in micro scale, something is in minifigure scale, some things are larger than that. So I like to build different stuff. I do not like to build repetitive stuff. which
Mm,
is why I never want to build the Eiffel Tower or the Colosseum. I mean, there's thousands of bricks in the same color. I was as well. I mean, there needs to be variety in it for me to find it fun. I I tried building the new what the plant a wreath Christmas wreath. That's what it's called.
oh, the Christmas wreath. Yes, yes.
So what do you call it?
The Christmas wreath.
Wreath. Oh, six. I didn't know how
Yeah.
to pronounce that one.
No, that's good.
And it's beautiful. It really is the one that came out last year. Uh, but it's so repetitive. I mean, building these pine sticks and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't get. I mean, it's beautiful, but I don't really get excited about it. It feels like work. I mean, maybe it
Yeah.
has to do with the time. It's the fact that I actually spent 2 years working as a model builder in Legoland. Um, and we built
That.
huge stuff there.
Yes.
And me doing stuff like for work is one thing, but I'm not going to do the same thing at home.
So, 2 years at Legoland. So you were building mini land scale then.
Yes, that's correct.
And so, what are the challenges? What are some of the challenges in building mini land scale? I mean, I would imagine there's so much more freedom because you can detail things so much more finer.
Well, you can, but there's also a certain it has to look like Lego, so you can actually make it too realistic
Right.
in order for it to fit into the Legoland concept. It still has to have a certain degree of squareness,
Yes.
and you
Okay.
have to have visible studs and stuff. I mean, we actually had some retired models that were taken out because they were too smooth.
Wow. They
Yeah,
were
I
too
mean,
lifelike.
if you're working with a mini land scale the car, I mean, you just look at the Speed Champion set. You can make them incredibly smooth and detailed, but it doesn't fit into the concept of mini land.
Yeah. Yeah, I can understand that. Um, so how with the bigger builds, especially at mini landscape, how do you balance the creativity with the integrity of the build once you get to those sort of level of bricks? Do you have any internal support structures or anything that you create?
At Legoland, or
Yes.
yeah. Well, first of all, it's the outside is super detailed. Inside is usually filled with Duplo bricks
That's
because
yep.
no one's gonna see them anyway. So
And
might as well save the time.
bulking. It's good
Yeah,
bulking. It makes a really good landscape really quickly.
it does. So no, the inside of building is usually Duplo, and of course for safety reasons, some of the taller structures are actually steel enforced. Um, they have we have a designer who's basically also a engineer that takes care of all that. So,
Interesting. So, what was one of the most memorable moments you had on Lego Masters?
all memorable moments on Lego Masters. I mean, everything was really. But I mean, the most memorable. Everything was just amazing. Of course, we there are people on the show who had a lot better skills than me and my partner. But again, we weren't really a part of the A4 community or anything at the time, so we were just winging it. And it turns out because we were on 3 elimination rounds,
Mm.
and we were actually on the elimination of the first episode. Well, the second episode. The first one didn't have an elimination, but the first elimination round. And I mean, I knew it was a thing, and it wasn't that big of a deal. If whether we knew we didn't gonna win, but I didn't want to be the first one to leave.
Mm.
The Danish show that didn't have any cash prizes or anything, so it was just for the fun of it. So I mean, it wasn't a live or death situation or anything, but yeah. So, but yeah, it struck me harder. I mean, I knew there were people better than me. I just didn't want to be the first to leave.
Yeah, I remember. I just wanted to experience as many of the challenges as possible. I didn't want to miss out on any of the challenges.
Oh, I think the worst thing was actually that when we were watching the show after the release, because well, we did 5 episodes out of 8 or something, and
That's
the
pretty good.
episode after we were eliminated, they had the one hanging brick challenge,
Oh,
uh,
right.
and that's the one I wanted to do the most.
What would you have built?
Uh, something that wasn't supposed to fly in. Um, if it's supposed to, if the challenge is that something is flying, I wouldn't build a bird or a planet or something. Something that wasn't supposed to fly. So just
Something,
taken
yeah,
out of
yeah,
its element.
something ironic. Yeah, I like it. So how did you handle the pressure and the time constraints and the cameras of being? How did you handle that being on telly?
Uh, it, uh, and I mean, during the first 1 or 2 episodes, I remember just sweating like pig. uh, just running around constantly and the mental strain of it. But after the first 2 episodes, you kind of just relaxed, and it's yeah, sure. I mean, they tell us we have 18 hours left. Yeah, yeah, sure. That's plenty of time to do something. Um, of course, not being as a routine builder as some of the others. Also, I mean, I didn't have any insight into how long stuff was going to take to build.
Mm.
Um, as opposed to some of the others, I remember that after one of the twists in the show, one of the other teams said that, sorry, uh, let's build my plane was one of them said because it was a model he had built like 10 times before that, so he knew
Mm.
exactly what pieces he needed, what to do and stuff, and like I don't know, if build a spaceship, sure. I mean, let's just put bricks together and maybe it'll look like something. So,
Mm.
um, so I mean, if you're going to do Lego Masters and if you want to win, having this mental catalog of stuff that you know how to build is a huge advantage. And we didn't have that. So,
Um, so do you have any tips for managing the stress while building?
ah, just relax and focus on your centerpiece. Also, something I used to do in stage time. Make sure that your centerpiece is there to begin with, because that's going to be the main part of it. And then build extra stuff if you have the time.
Mm.
The centerpiece doesn't even have to be that detailed to begin with, but the concept that it's there will get you 80% of the way.
Yeah. No, that's some good advice. Thank you. Um, so can you tell us about any behind the scenes stuff that happened on the show?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we were filming during lockdown, so once the camera was cut, everyone was told just to take a step back from the build, so we didn't build, and we had to stay in place. And some of the runners would come up with hand sanitizers and masks for us to put on before we actually left the show, left the
Wow.
studio to go to the break area. So that was one thing, and of course, each team were sitting with their small table like 2 meters apart from everyone else. We were allowed to take off the mask while sitting, but then we would just have yelling to each other if we wanted to talk. It was a very friendly thing on Denmark, of Lego Masters Denmark. Also, also because we didn't have any huge prizes. I think the main part was that the winning team would be built as minifigures or mini land figures and actually put in the Legoland below.
I, that would
So
be pretty
it was
cool.
a very friendly thing.
I would do it for that. I would do it for that.
Of course,
Um,
afterwards I just built myself a couple of places and put in.
yeah, yeah. Um, so how has Lego impacted your life beyond the show? I mean, clearly, to go from a couple of dimension sets to having a few drawers stacked behind you is quite a significant improvement. Like, how else has it impacted your life?
Oh well, of course as I said, I spent 2 years in Legoland,
Yeah.
working as a model builder. And it was amazing thing to try, but not my thing in the long run. Also, takes an hour and a half to get there from where I live, so the commute was a bit of a killer. Um, and of course, I met a ton of awesome people. And living in Denmark also means I have pretty easy to go to stuff like Skærbæk, uh, which is
Yeah.
what I well at least Denmark is the thing, you know. Um, so and yeah, I mean, I also my professional life I also do different projects, mostly in service design and experience design. So it's just this thing that I like doing projects. So it's fun. It's my main thing before getting into Lego was board games, not as project based, but still.
So, what role do you think Lego plays in fostering creativity and problem solving?
Oh, that is a huge topic. I'll try to make it short because if you have, of course, in order to fostering creativity, I think you need to just have a big bin of assorted Lego and just build with whatever you can dig up. Because if you only build the set, of course, it has some degree of creativity to it, but it plays a lot into what's generally called the IKEA effect. You tend to value something higher if you're taking part of its creation. But like an IKEA set Lego, if you just follow the manual, it's a set experience that you do. Of course, you do get some insight into the shape and how you can build different things when you're working on a set. I for one, love the modular houses. They're full of
Mm,
so many different building
mm,
techniques.
mm.
But in order to really be creative, you just need a big bin of assorted Lego, to be honest. I mean, I just need to find stuff. That's why it's sorted. Otherwise, it's the same thing.
No, I'm with you on that. I keep saying over and over. People ask me, how do I get into Lego? I'm like, you go and get yourself a 3-in-1, and you build four. And they're
Yeah,
like, what? I'm like, you go and follow the instructions 3 times so you can get your head into it, and then build a fourth. Like, and I think that comes from growing up with sets in the 80s where you had a box with your main model on the back, but on the on the front, but on the back they had the alternate models you could make with the same bricks. You never had the instructions, but I used to sit there and reverse engineer because I only had limited amount of bricks at home, and this is one of
yeah,
the
I
ones that
remember those. I even actually, as a kid, I wrote to Lego at one point asking if I could get the instructions for the set on the back.
well
They
done.
were kind enough to reply back that that was unfortunately not something they could do, and that they were included for inspiration.
Inspiration. They were very inspiring. Actually, I was talking to one of the fellow countrymen, Peter, the other day, and he says he
Yeah, nice
likes to
guy.
get poly bags and
Yeah,
get two poly bags and just use those and then just make a new model every day. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to do that. I've got two poly bags here. I'm going to try that little experiment. That sounds like a great idea. It's because
yeah.
it's
His polybag challenge is a great little thing. Also, it has a very low entry barrier. I mean, anyone
yes,
could go pick up a couple of polybags and just toss them in a bin and build stuff from it.
yeah, exactly. And it's quite a novel approach. You know, it because the first thing I would do, because when people, the other thing is mashups. Like I like to do monster trucks. Where's my monster trucks? So there was a monster truck that came out a little while ago, and
Hey,
I
that's
just
the
decided,
Batmobile. I like it.
I really like the Batmobile, but I wanted to see what a Batmobile monster truck would look like. So I
Oh,
started with the Mystery Machine, like the Scooby Doo. I
yeah,
just happened to have those two vehicles, and I was just like, you know what? And then it just become a thing, and it's another way to inspire people into getting into shows and getting into mock building is to just kind of take two ideas and kind of mash them together.
yeah. And that's a very Lego approach to doing stuff, actually. I think that's basically what they were the concept of the Dreams series. That's basically just matching stuff together.
Well, then that's just like Time Bandits. Do you remember that? That was mashing
Oh,
stuff.
that was during my dark ages, but I do know of it.
You have a Dark Ages then.
Yeah, I definitely did. I think I went from I think the latest stuff I had was Ice Planet and Aquanauts,
Oh yeah,
those
yeah.
kind of things, and that was some of the latest stuff. I also had some model teams. Uh,
I
uh,
Model Team, great. I missed out on those.
yeah, I think I had like one or two of those set. They were really pretty on the just to have on the shelf, but it was yeah, I just grew out of it and got into other stuff. So, but
Yeah,
yeah, then a computer game and a TV show got me back into it.
fantastic. Um, so, have you noticed any positive mental health benefits, or like other benefits from playing Lego or engaging with Lego?
Oh, I think it's an activity where you can kind of like focus on it, and if you just do free building stuff, it's can be really relaxing. Just I think some people it's just kind of like knitting, to be honest.
Bit of
Just
meditation,
taking.
you think?
Sorry.
Meditation, you think?
Yeah, it's a bit of it. It's a concept I've thought about a lot. I mean, Lego can be done together, but it can also be done on an individual basis and just coming together and just showing people what you've done. Uh, so it it's I've as I said I've done a lot of board gaming stuff,
Mm,
and there is a huge difference in the two types of people that does stuff, because no matter how you do it, well, you can play some board games solo, but it's a social activity in its core. And Lego is mostly a single thing, at least as an adult, uh,
mm,
where you build your pieces and then you show it to other people. So there's, and that kind of, whether or not it's a cooperation or a single activity, it speaks to different people.
mm.
Um, So, so in that regards, I mean, I've also done a lot of LARPing, and that has a whole different thing. And it's just amazing to see how different types of people, even though they're pretty geeky, all these activities. Um, but they're
Wonderfully
different
geek.
types of geeks, to be honest.
Lego geeks are the most colorful, I think. There's some wonderful nerdy people in the Lego community, and
There definitely is, yes.
that
I think
so,
if
well, I think that,
anything, there might be a pitfall in the concept of what you would call parallel play. In the
parallel
concept. Yeah, I
in
mean, just
what sense?
sorry.
In what sense the pitfall?
Um, in the fact that you can actually participate in the activity without actually engaging with other people. Um, I'm
Mm,
a high. I like to make sure that the activities actually engage with other people. I mean, otherwise I can just play a video game or anything. Not.
sure,
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with playing video games. I do it all the time, but
all the time.
all the time. But it just gives you something else in life that in order that you can be social about an activity. That's also the one of the reasons I like to participate in exhibitions.
Yeah. And I think the other side of that is the community on the inside that are all doing the building, but the outside community is just wonderfully receiving of what we create. And it doesn't matter what kind of day is going on. Everybody's got a smile on at all of these shows. Every member of the public has got a smile. There might be the occasional upset kid that's not getting the Lego set they want from the shop, but other than that, everybody's having an absolute ball. It's so
Yeah,
wonderful.
exactly. Everyone likes to look at Lego.
Yes, and hours and hours and hours of looking at the details. It's so fascinating.
Oh yeah, that's one. If I do a big display, I like to hide small details so people can go exploring. At Lego
Yeah,
House, they have these huge dioramas, like mountains and cities and stuff. I mean, I could
mm,
just go there, spend the whole entire day just finding the small details in that. That doesn't have to go building. I can do that at home. But those displays, I absolutely love them.
fantastic. It's fantastic. So so how many shows are you engaging with in the community these days? Like, how many shows are there around? There aren't too many in Denmark, apart from Skæbæk.
There's a few where the National A-Fold Association actually just had a exhibition in Copenhagen, something called Break Days,
Oh, lovely.
which was something that someone made happen because they weren't doing the Lego World event this year, or
Okay.
Festival of Play, or whatever the name is these days. Uh, I've also engaged with one of the local cons, something called Sci-Fi Con here in the town where I live, an annual event which is everything geeky, really.
Nice.
And I spoke to the organizers at one point, and they asked, "Why don't you come show what you got?" I'm like, "Sure." And so far, we're growing a little bit each year, so let's have fun with that.
Fantastic.
And of course, I also do the store displays sometimes. Did a window display for a toy store last Christmas. Small one. They had this window that was really just like 60 stops deep or something, but they wanted still to be about a meter high.
Oh,
So that
wow.
was a bit. Sorry.
That would be a neat challenge.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. We ended up doing these Christmas presents stacked up, and some of them were open, so you can see stuff inside and stuff.
Cool.
Turned out pretty well, and I'm also on another project for a bigger store display this summer with the with a theme that Lego has decided from some of their releases.
Right.
I think that's what I'm
Um,
allowed to say at this point.
no, yeah, I was going to say that sounds a little vague. We'll just leave it at that and just move on. That we can't be divulging too many exciting things. I'll get a ban. So if you had anybody come up to you and say, "I want to be a Lego master," what would you do? How would you encourage them? What would you say to them? Don't do it. You're crazy. No.
Well, in terms of if being a Lego master to them is to go on the show, sure, but you're not going to be able to do it in Denmark because they're not making more of it. So that's the thing. But you know what? Sure, just go for it. I mean, just know that eh, at least in Denmark, it's a show made for entertainment. I think that goes for all over the world. But
Yes.
it's supposed to be fun. It's not a competition of who can actually isn't I don't think that the most skilled technical builder necessarily is going to be the one that wins. You have to build something fun and engaging. So it doesn't really matter if you got precisely how to do a superb curve on copying a design from something or anything. That's not what it's about. It's about having fun, building something fun. And I think that if you're going to be on Lego Masters, having a sparkling personality gets you a long way. I
Well, I think
remember.
at least being okay with being an idiot on telly.
Yeah, I mean, come on, you're
I
an
know.
adult going on television,
Yeah.
competing on building toys. I mean, come on. I mean,
You
it's
got to
not
be
that
pretty cool.
serious. So just go with the flow, have fun.
Yeah, yeah. Try not to take yourself too seriously.
Yeah, exactly.
Brilliant. So, have you used Lego in any educational capacity? Like,
Sorry, once again.
have you used Lego in any educational settings, like workshops or?
I would like to. I
Yes.
read up on the Lego series play method, which is about using Lego as a facilitation tool in different professional aspects. Unfortunately, it's bloody expensive to get certified in that, but so I haven't gotten into that. Um, I would like to. I haven't. I do a lot of design thinking processes, and sometimes it's post-its and cardboards and just making a prototype of what you want. It might as well be Lego if that was the thing. Um, I want to do something at one point. I haven't had the opportunity to do it, but just give have people do prototypes of something, but just give them one kind of basic brick in one color, so they don't
Mm.
get distracted by all the different shapes and colors. It's just, this is one tool you have, so show me what you want to do.
Well, that's I think that was probably the most rewarding challenge that I ended up doing. Even though for me it was probably the most difficult because it was the one I had no idea for. It was the one where we had to build something out of one color. It
Oh,
was first introduced in the New Zealand show, and our brickmaster Robin came up with this idea that you had to build something that wouldn't look out of place in a museum and would elicit emotion from across the room out of one color. And
oh, that's
I was stumped. I was just baffled. I couldn't do it. I couldn't. But my mate Dan, he just drew this picture of a man on a chair with his head in his hands, and he
yeah,
said, could you do that?" And I'm like, "Well, you build the chair and I'll build the man." And he goes, "Yeah." I'm like, "Yep, all right." And then yeah, and
yeah,
then 12 hours later, we had created the most amazing thing I've ever done. Like, it was, and like it was it was a challenge that I'd never anticipated. One color. It's
yeah.
weird. It was
I can
yeah,
definitely
that
see
was
the challenge in that. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Putting a pretty it's a limited restriction. It's pretty clear what you're supposed to do. Yeah, I like it. I'm gonna steal that at some point.
But I what I loved most about Lego Masters was there were the restrictions on you. Because I find that sometimes having limitless ideas means there's too many ideas, you don't know where to go.
Yes, that is
Where
actually something I also work with professionally. The concept of not giving people too broad of an area to get to work within, like limit what you want to do.
yeah,
Uh, I mean, so most of the time it's
creativity.
pretty easy though. This is your budget, make it fit.
Yeah, but sometimes a budgetary constraint is it doesn't get you make. I think I like the limitation of the brick pit because when we went to the brick pit, we were expecting to have Lego like we'd have at home, where you've got like thousands of different pieces. Whereas because it's like 1,400, what I think Lego at the time had 17,000 variety of elements, and I think there were 1,400 in our brick pit, 1,400 different types of bricks. So
Yeah,
we'd go and look for a particular part, and we'd never find it.
yeah,
But it made it really creative.
we had this. One of the challenges we had was that we had some bricks in some colors. So sometimes
Oh,
the
not
thing you
another.
wanted to build depended on what you had available in the terms of colors. For instance, the 1 by 1 round brick with a hole in it,
Yeah,
we only had those in brown.
that that's not a good color to have those in, unless you want to make
No, I
roof
mean it's great
tiles.
for making plans, but anything else,
Yeah.
it's the only color we had those in.
Well, one of the things that I'm because Robin was from Canada and he's coming to New Zealand, and New Zealand, he decided that the new sheet, the new little black and white sheet that came out with the Mickey Mouse stuff, he ordered hundreds of those for the brick pit, just as an in joke. Anyway, so future. So what are you say you're working on a collaborative build at the moment? What are you? Can you talk about what you're building?
Yeah, it's basically. Uh, Give me a second.
Sure.
Uh,
Get to see something.
so sometimes I just like to incorporate actual sets into stuff, and the back is not that interesting. But
Oh, look at that.
so
That's
this
cool.
is the
I like
mid-scale
that.
Millennium Falcon. I actually love these mid-scale.
Yeah.
They
I,
don't take up
I
too
love,
much shelf space.
yeah,
Uh,
that's
but but this is basically just these half cubes, so to say,
yeah.
and I'm just gonna do a bunch of these with different scenes and pop culture references, and
I
they're
like that.
basically upscaled habitats.
I really like that. From that, like
So
from that angle, you can. It looks like it's going through hyperdrive. That's fantastic.
thank
What a
you. That
great
was
idea.
what I'm going. I'm gonna rebuild it a bit because I'm not completely satisfied with. But when are we
I
ever?
might, I might have to do it with this one. Do a little
Oh, that's
version.
awesome. Yeah,
Yeah. this is I like mashups. I'm a big fan of mashups, and I love Batman.
Yeah. Nope.
So,
Everyone loves
and I think
Batman. Yeah.
if
But
Batman
no,
was
it's
gonna have
basically an up. It's yeah. They basically upscaled the habitats, so we can just
yeah,
add on to them, and I can invite people into
what's
joining me,
that?
and people can make their own. And just
Yeah.
how depending on how much stuff people want to bring and how many people want to join, this could be this huge thing.
There's one I just saw the other day, a beautiful habitat posted by I can't remember his name now. But it was had all each habitat was a different color in the color palette, and it was just it was massive. It was so cool, just monochrome little habitats with little monochrome minifigs in. Very cool. Um, so what kind of future innovations and trends in Lego are you looking forward to? Are you hanging out for the next greatest set, or is there anything on your radar for this year?
Uh, well, they're getting into this whole Formula One thing. That's really not my thing.
Yeah,
But I mean, I can always use the brick for something else. Um, of course, I would love for them. Just did this retro Blacktron ship, the big one.
yes.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, you have it right there. But
I'm still yet to open it and build it, but yes, I do have that one just
yes,
there.
exactly. Of course, me
Yeah.
myself, I was more of an M-Tron guy.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm if I can wish for any set, it would be a neo retro version of the M-Tron Megacore Magnetizer, the big vehicle with the big wheels.
You know it's probably coming. I mean, they've done Classic Space, they've done Blacktron. The thing I love about this one, what they did was they got the average size of a person's hand from the 80s, and then they kind of upscaled it to a. So this is about the same scale it would have been had I picked it up as 5 years old and held it in my hand.
Oh, that is a great way to work on it. It reminds me of what I was recently learned about the UCS Millennium Falcon.
Yes.
The reason it actually became a thing to begin with was that someone thought, okay, so how big would it need to be in order to fit 6 minifigures in the cockpit?
So that was the challenge. So we want to be able to fit all the minifigs in. How big's it going to be?
Yeah,
Fantastic.
and then some manager at some point looked at it and said, "We're going to build that."
Wow. And what? It's still the largest. Is it still the largest Lego set, or something?
And it's about 70 centimeters in length. I mean, depends on how you calculate it, I suppose, because with the 7,000 bricks, the Eiffel Tower is 10,000, isn't it?
Ah,
And I
yeah. I
mean,
still have the Millennium Falcon. I think.
yeah, I mean, of course, the Falcon is all you need if you ever want to do anything greebling.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean,
Um, I tell you what, that new Black Falcon. As soon as I saw that new Black Falcon, all I wanted to do was upscale my Bat Falcon. You know,
yeah,
because I figured if Batman was going to have a spaceship, it would be the Millennium Falcon. Because that's why wouldn't you? It just makes sense.
yeah. I mean, he even stole the hyperdrive in one of the Lego movies, didn't he?
I know exactly, exactly. So, what's the funniest or most unexpected mishap you've had while building Lego?
Oh, this. Uh, well, just thinking whether or not I should tell. No. uh,
The kids are going to be watching this.
okay. Well, in that case, when you're building large scale stuff like for Legoland, sometimes you need to do just cover entire stuff in like tiles or something,
Yeah.
and for some reason you tend to do some sort of patterns in it, not necessarily for any reason, just
Mm.
building from one corner and then doing from another, and for some reasons it tends to, well, there can be a lot of times where you look at it and then you're wondering, am I in 1940s Germany? Like with these geometric
Oh dear.
patterns and stuff. But
Yeah.
nah, but we made sure to cover every time it happened. But sometimes you just look at it and say, this looks wrong.
Wasn't intended. Yeah. Um. The people keep asking, like people. Oh, it's no fun to stand on Lego. It's like, nah, it's worse to kneel on Lego.
Yes,
I
it
remember
definitely
once.
is.
I think I knelt on like a 1x2 brick in just the wrong angle, and I managed to break the skin. And I was just like, ah,
Yeah,
Lego.
we actually
I'm
had a
going.
challenge on the show where in the beginning of the show they were pouring down basic bricks from the ceiling and just like big waterfall,
Mm,
and then they just started the timer. We of course we knew that we were going to build towers, but then they started the timer with no anything else, so everyone just threw themselves on the floor and starting building. And my team partner Lisa Nede were actually unfortunate enough to hit one of the bricks with her knee, and that she was limping around for 2 episodes after that.
oh no, the Lego can
Yeah,
be incredibly hazardous.
yeah.
So you mentioned earlier that Mtron was your thing. Is there a particular Lego set or build from your childhood that brings back memories?
Oh yeah, the Mtron Megacore magnetizer. That is the thing.
Yeah.
I'm starting sourcing the parts for it. I have a couple of the big windshields and all
Oh,
the needed wheels, but there are so many unique parts in that set. It drives me crazy. Even the 8x8 grill, red
mm,
grill, is unique to that piece because everywhere else it doesn't have a hole in it. So I mean, I'm just gonna. It doesn't need to have one, but purist
yeah,
and
yeah.
all that. Yeah. But
I was
however, I'm still salty about not getting the monorail as a kid.
I saw a post. I saw a post by Boone the other day that said he was at some store in Billund, and someone had used an Mtron magnet to hold up a sign. He was like, the strangest. You see Lego in the strangest places in this place.
Yeah. Yeah, we
That's
actually had Mtron Magnus on one of the one of the billboards and at the workshop where it worked.
fantastic. Well, thank you very much for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you, and I hope to
You
chat to you
too,
again
mate.
in the future. Thank you
Sure.
very much. Until next time, make sure you grab life by the bricks.
I will, definitely.